We back? Sorry about that. Let me see if I can fix this just by restarting my tablet. Yep, that fixed it. Can you folks hear me? Are we back? Okay, so what? This is gonna screw the VOD up. Okay, that's fine. We might have just like 2 VODs, or one that's missing the intro of the stream. There's a toggle here on my tablet, and if I'm not careful, it'll switch my active monitor, which I didn't realize when I was scrolling around, and I was on my monitor where OBS sits, and I hit end stream, trying to figure out where my cursor went. So that's a little embarrassing. Let's just pretend that didn't happen, huh? I did see Capri Sun and asked further up. If I redeem small Raku, does the computer get small or the same size? It's just me. Until I remember to turn it back off. Capri Sun asked, what kind of tablet do you use? I watch Rosie's reviews. She throws them downstairs. Yes, she uses Galmon Products, which is a Chinese company, I think. I've never heard of them, but I might have to pick her brain on the model and whether or not I want to invest in that, because I do want to replace my tablet, since this one I've had this one since like 2010-ish. It's pretty old and it works okay, but it was created at a time when monitors were lower resolution, so this thing is a lower resolution than every other monitor I've got. Plus the colors are fading and the contrast fades. But to answer your question, we've talked about it. It's been a while since we've talked about it. The model I have is a Wacom Cintiq. And the reason why I haven't replaced it is because Wacom Cintiqs are not cheap. And this one was not cheap when I got it. And it really isn't broken. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's a little bit big and takes up more space than I'd like. And plus, I use this as my primary monitor. So compared to everything else that I have when I'm playing a game or something, it looks a little bit more faded because the resolution is lower and the color contrast is faded just over time. Sun says, Wacom, isn't that the most expensive art tablets? They're probably the most expensive product on the market now. Yeah, but back in the day, there weren't a whole lot of competitors when I got this one. So I had to save for a while to get it, because I used to use a regular input USB tablet where it's not on your screen. And that drove me nuts. And you folks have heard me talk about that a little bit too. I see Pups is here. Pups says, howdy, Raku. What you drawing? Well, it's funny you ask, Pups. We are doing character concepts, and we're going to be using your technique again. It's been a while since I've done it on stream because we've been doing a lot of sprite work. But we're going to be using Chibi bases as our reference for drawing some character outfits. We're gonna work with the male model today because we did the female one last time. So everybody, thank Pups for the inspiration. Their method is what I'm kind of ripping off for this, just to test out, since it's worked pretty well for doing concepts quickly. And we'll see how it goes. Also, since Capri Sun mentioned it, Wacom, the company that makes my tablet, they were in some hot water within the last week or two, because they put a promo out on Twitter, so kind of advertising their products or whatever, and it turns out it was an AI generated picture, and boy did they get flayed alive on Twitter for that. I think someone on their marketing team probably got fired. Really bad luck for the company. But yeah, as far as the next iteration of tablet hardware I get, I'll have to shop around a bit. There was another Chinese one that's apparently pretty good, but I don't know if I really like their interface set up for their tablet. I do like for the Cintiq. You folks can't see it obviously, but this is a 22 HD. It has programmable buttons on the side, and I can map drawing application commands to these buttons. And I think the Gaomon one that Whoopsie uses can do that. I forgot to ask her when I saw her in person. But the other one is like Huion, I think. The name is similar. But that other Chinese one, it has a main tablet interface and looks a lot lighter than the Cintiq. But it doesn't have buttons. Instead, it's got a separate, it almost looks like a keypad controller that's probably just a separate USB that has keys that you can program, which isn't terrible. I think I'd be okay with that. But it'd basically be like something that sits on your desk next to your tablet, and then you can program keys in. I think it's got a slide wheel too for zooming. So that's something I'd consider, but I don't think the Gaomon one has programmable buttons. If it does, it only has a couple. But yeah, I did talk to Whoopsie a bit about it before. It's not high on my list of things to replace right now, but eventually I'd like to do that, because I'd like to have one of two things. I'd like to be able to get a little more lightweight but same size drawing tablet that I can use, and I want to put this on the side so that my main monitor is one of my more large ones for visibility. Only problem is if I do that for drawing streams specifically, everything's going to be out in the wrong spot. So I don't know. If anything, being able to get like a lighter weight one that I can mount on an arm and have that be my main monitor, and then when I'm drawing, I could slide it out, and then when I'm not drawing, it'll just be kind of pushed back and out of the way. Because right now my Cintiq takes up the entirety of my desk when it's flipped down. Which is a little less than ideal, but it just means I have to kind of slide everything out of the way. Like my keyboard, again, you can't see it. If you go dig through my Twitter, it was like maybe a year and a half ago or so, you can see a picture I posted of my workstation setup, which shows like all my monitors and my Cintiq and everything, and where it's normally set up when I'm not drawing. And it's not a lot of space. So whenever I do drawing stuff, I've got to move things around. And like my keyboard's all the way over here, so I can't actively type without reaching over and being out of range of my camera. Well, you know, one of those first world artist problems, but something I'll probably try and invest in at some point. I did see Capri Sun mention that they've got a mouse with programmable buttons. Yeah, there's a way to map macros with a lot of the drawing tablets to something that's not part of the hardware too. But having built-in buttons like the Wacom products have is nice. So that's one thing I would definitely look for in like a replacement. But it's kind of one of those things where I'll need to shop around and see. I just know that I'm not going to spend what I spent on this one. The market's gotten a lot more competitive, I guess it is, with other companies having products out there that, like, Wacom's tech isn't the necessary like gold standard anymore. They still make good products, but I think you're paying partially for like a brand markup when something like a Gaomon, or I think it's Huion, will be just as fine and cost you probably like almost half the price. But to be fair, this one I've been using again since like around 2010, I want to say, and it still works fine. It's just the monitor is kind of fading a bit, and it does have a dead pixel. Where is it? You can't see it, but right where my cursor is on my tablet, there's a dead red pixel here. But it's kind of hard to notice. Usually I can't even tell unless I look really closely for it. Capri-san says, I have not drawn digitally since '06 when I had that mouse pad I was talking about. I prefer physical mediums because I learned how to draw digitally. Learning to draw digitally sounds scary and overwhelming, and I suck at art, so it'd be better to continue learning digitally. Yeah, it kind of just depends. I'm a pencil and paper artist by trade. That's where I learned to draw, and I made the switch to digital in the mid 2000s. Again, I went through the whole arc of getting a drawing tablet where it's a surface on the ground on like the desk, and you draw on that, but you're not drawing on your screen. I think that's what Pups uses. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pups, but yours is an external drawing tablet, isn't it? You don't have a drawing on tablet like Wazi uses. That drove me nuts. Like I've said it a couple times when we've talked about it in the past. I tried doing that. I had like an 8x12 Wacom Intuos. It's the first one I bought, which was like $300 or something, because I wanted to get a drawing tablet and didn't want to necessarily shell out for the big one yet. And I tried for like a year, and it just drove me crazy trying to not see what I was actively working on and try and follow on screen. And so eventually I just shelved it, and then I bought the actual tablet one later. But anyway, as far as digital drawing, Capri-san, to Pleps's point, it's a lot easier to manipulate things and fix mistakes. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what I want to draw. Let's do this. I have an idea. And so when it comes to manipulating things and working at like a high level and not having things be too costly when it comes to mistakes is nice. It just kind of depends on how your brain is wired, I think. Because there's a lot of tools out there for digital stuff, a lot of different ways. I still want to get into digital painting at some point. Something I'm not good at. I can't do it all. Priestson says, also, I'm going to draw two while you stream. If you want, I could show you the ones I liked. Yeah, you can put your stuff in the new art channel on the Discord. That's for stuff that you guys make. So anything you create that's, again, within rules, feel free to put it in the art channel. That was a suggestion from someone who tuned into the community once, and I'm not entirely sure what happened with that whole exchange with that person. I think I was being trolled because that person joined our Discord, asked for an art channel, got kind of weird, and then just peaced out. I didn't really want to mention it, like call attention to it in the Discord, but it was kind of weird. And I think that person was potentially trying to stir up our Discord and found that everyone was too chill and then just bounced, which is weird. I've never had that happen, but like in general, Capri-san, if you look at the chat history, because since not a lot of people have been talking in there recently, it's been a little quiet. You can kind of see the messages, and looking back, they're kind of weird. And then the person like bounced right after that. It's like, okay, all right. But yeah, drawing tools and hardware are an interesting topic of discussion. I don't know if I mentioned it on stream. Maybe I did. But within the last year or so, the stylus that I've been using that I got with my tablet died. I don't even know if I mentioned it on stream, but I've been using the thing for over a decade, and then it just kind of was slowly coming apart, and then one day it literally exploded in my hand into pieces, and then I lost a couple of the components, and I couldn't put it back together. I had to buy a new one, but over a decade of use out of a stylus, I'll take that. I got no complaints. It's not like a new one was really that expensive. I think it was like $30. Capri Sun asked, did it hurt? No, no, like it didn't forcefully explode. It just kind of dismantled itself in my hand, and then I couldn't put it back together. I bought the exact same one. This is a exact model. It's a Wacom stylus. I see Pups talking about heavy pressure on a drawing tablet. These are, for the most part, pretty durable. I don't know about the latest model ones. Wazzy would be a better judge, but if you were using a drawing tablet that wasn't your primary monitor, you'd probably be okay. You might etch it a little bit, but like I don't really have a lot of pressure because I'm working at an angle instead of directly on top of my surface. So I don't have an issue like put too much pressure on here, but I think you have to really grind like into the surface to really etch it. But I don't know how durable they are in that regards. But I do know that I can never go back to anything else after using a drawing tablet. It was one of my goals when I eventually got a job that could pay for it to get a drawing tablet like a Cintiq, which again was kind of the standard at the time. Really isn't so much now. I think now there's a lot of competitors like we were talking about. But I've gotten good mileage out of this thing. I can't really complain. I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it did. They did make quality products at the time. So today's exercise is going to be a bit of kind of like a free drawing exercise and brainstorming outfits. And this first male model I'm drawing here is kind of like a robed individual, kind of like a prayer coat, like a half prayer coat almost. A weird idea, but kind of popped in my brain, so I'm kind of running with it. Basically, it's a coat that covers most of the body but leaves one of the limbs and shoulder exposed, and there's armor underneath. Probably more ceremonial than functional in a fight. On the topic of the Wacom products, I think Pups is saying it's good considering how expensive they are. They should last. Yeah, I definitely think I got my money's worth considering the investment, which is why I'm hesitant to just replace this one outright, but I'll have to do it eventually. And this one will probably, when I eventually do that, this one's going to go into storage. I'm just going to package it up and put it away. I'm not going to sell it, or definitely not throw it away. It'll just go into storage, and if I ever need an emergency tablet, it'll be a backup. Because as long as it works fine and there's nothing physically wrong with it, I'm not getting rid of it. I think I still have my old Intuos. I tried to give it to one of my coworkers because her daughter was getting into drawing. I said, yeah, I will sell you this old 8x12 for cheap. Like, I'll sell it to you for like 20 or 30 bucks. I just want to get rid of it. I'm not too worried about recouping costs because it had been years since I bought it. But I don't think she ever took me up on that. So that old tablet might be sitting in storage somewhere. what I'm doing is I'm just roughing in the lower extremities here, kind of like a loose fitting pants, not necessarily like loose like hammer pants, but just loose fitting. And then these are kind of like maybe ankle high boots. The proportions are a little bit tricky because obviously these are chibi proportions, but approximation of the concept is kind of what we're going for here. So if I were to turn this into a fully fleshed out concept, I'd know what I needed to draw. Oh, I did see a hydrate from my Conic. Son says, I'd make a great doctor. My signature is beyond illegible. It's just squiggles. I hear that. I have a terrible signature. And Plup says you can make drawing easier with the symmetry tool. Yeah, this is Clip Studio we're using. I honestly didn't think too hard about it since we're just doing sketch concepts for the most part today. But that is true. If I really wanted to be precise, I would use the symmetry tool, which I don't remember where exactly it is, but I've used it before. We're gonna have some designs here that are gonna be asymmetrical, but we're working off of a base primary anyway, so it's definitely a good pro tip for folks who want to get into using Clip Studio. I know Photoshop does it too. I think it's just a toggle on the main toolbar in Photoshop. But for Clip, I might not have that toolbar active since I never use it. Pup says I'm lazy as hell, dude. You can't make me draw something that's the same on both sides. I'm trying to think if you've ever worked on something that's symmetrical. Huh, maybe not. That's funny. Oh, does my interface for Clip Studio look different? I might not have it configured the same way. This is whatever iteration of current Clip Studio. I think did I opt for the subscription? I don't remember. I don't think I did. So maybe mine's not up to date if that's the case. I wasn't too thrilled when they went to a subscription model. That actually kind of ticked me off a bit. So maybe mine is out of date, but honestly, for the way I use it, it isn't really going to be that big a deal. Let's put the face lines on here. Okay. Okay, Pup says, I'm not happy with that either. I don't pay for the sub. I bought the Pro EX, regardless of the full version, like 1.0, whatever they call it. Yeah, this is Pro. What does the about say? This is This is Pro 1.5. And it's a good thing that doesn't pop up because that shows my serial number. Probably don't want to show that on stream. But yeah, this is most likely not the constant supported version that requires like a paid subscription, unless they grandfathered in everyone who bought it before. Because I've had Clip Studio for years. I bought this when it was still Manga Studio. Oh, they didn't grandfather? Okay, well that's fine. I'm if I wanted to animate, that's probably something I'd need to consider, but I am not an animator. Okay, let's drop a new layer and work on a new boy here. Oh, are they charging like purchases per update, is it static updates, or like one purchase then you can update whenever? Because like if you just want the next version, you have to buy it, and then the next one after that you have to buy again. I think that's pretty scummy. Preson says, well, if Raku learned to animate, he'd be a quadruple threat. Beatboxing, gaming, drawing, and animation. Yeah, and I would get even less done than I do now, which is what I say every time I talk about a new interest or hobby. And that would be a problem, because then it would take forever for me to get anything done. Like, it's not something I really talk about a lot, but I do edit as well. Video editing. I have to in order to do the types of YouTube content and stuff I do. No, let's do something a little bit different. It's going to just be a carbon copy of the last guy. But I'm not a pro editor by any means. There's a lot of video ideas that I'd like to do, in fact, that would probably involve hiring an editor. I got some things I need to look into. But for now, for the stuff you folks see on YouTube, like the music project compilations and clips and other things. Although clips I've been pulling straight off of Twitch if people make them. Otherwise, I do it myself with the VODs. I edit them and put them up. Preson says, if you do get an animation, let me know. I'd love to see what you create. Oh, I'm sure you folks would see it, but that's a specific skill set that I would have to spend a lot of time to refine. Preson says, that's my hobbies only last long enough for me to learn how to do them. I got rid of all my brewing paraphernalia about 4 days ago, but I can now make wine. That is true. Capri Sun has talked about making wine on stream a few times, which is that's a pretty unique skill to have. Pop says, I think your clip weirds me out because it's light gray. Mine's a black interface. This is the basic light mode, I think. I never remember. My Photoshop is set to dark. Where even is that? I thought that the default for clip is white. It's been so long. This has been using native settings that I have it set to forever. It's been probably almost a decade. But it's weird because my Photoshop is black. This one is not. And I just don't notice anymore. Alright, what are we going to do for Homeboy here? Number 2. Model number 2. Iconic says, I ain't got time to learn art. I gotta write, and we'll just pay others to art. Well, there's nothing wrong with specialization, but as far as learning art, one thing I've told people before is there's never too late to learn. Again, I'm not a pro. My art skills when it comes to this kind of stuff are pretty basic and serviceable, but I can always get better and try and improve. I haven't had a lot of time to really grind on drawing, which is why we do this on stream. But learning new stuff is always good too. That's why I got into pixel-based art a few years back. It was before I started VTubing for sure, but I started doing it on stream just because I figured you folks would find that an interesting change of pace from this stuff. But that was a bit of trial and error, and I'm still learning the sprite work stuff. It's a really interesting art form, and always trying to get better. Doing the Pokemon stuff was pretty educational, actually. I think I've talked a little bit about that before too, where learning the shading styles that they require for Pokemon Infinite Fusion kind of forced me to learn more about lighting sources. So I think I shade a little bit better now as a result for at least the pixel stuff, because I had to follow some specific sets of rules when it came to the stuff I submitted and get approved for Pokemon Infinite Fusion. So there's definitely some benefit there, because I find shading pretty interesting, but I suck at it. If I could just do everything flat, unshaded, it'd be so much more productive. Or just sketch stuff and hand it off to people like Plups that are better than me. What says flat unshaded is a style, you know, it's iconic in its own way. Yeah, that's true, but again, I'm more of a concept artist than a fully realized drawing piece and whatnot artist. And if you folks saw my binders and binders of drawings of pencil and paper, they're all black and white pencil drawings. They're not sketches. And are they shaded? I think they're shaded. They're simply shaded using pencil, but it's all pencil and paper. There's no color. They're not inked. I can't remember if they're shaded, honestly, because I drew them with the intention of scanning them and inking them digitally, since I couldn't ink them with traditional means. I can't do that at all. Okay, we're doing a bit more of a focus on armor for this one. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky since, again, we're not coloring or shading these. We're just sketching out ideas. So, like, a lot of the colors and whatnot are not apparent, but that wasn't really the focus for today. It's just to kind of kick around some ideas. I did see Plup say, honestly, the fun thing about art is you can do whatever you want. That's true. It is pretty much completely open to whatever path or focus you want, which is why it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with AI art, since it's not going away and the technology is not going to get worse. But we'll have to see what happens. I personally would like to, and this will probably get me blacklisted amongst the art community, so I don't really go around repeating it too much, but if they have trainable AI models that you can use to basically train on your own work, I'd love to experiment with that and see. I'd love to be able to take the stuff that I've made and iterate on ideas and concepts for my own work. Plup says, I'm hoping it becomes unpopular like NFTs. It's not going away, man. AI AI as a technology in general is going to continue to evolve. And on the art side, you're always going to have people who want to exploit that particular type of technology because it's easy. And so it's not going to become unpopular, but hopefully its ability to just straight up replace artists is what doesn't happen, you know. I also am curious to see what the AI music tech looks like and how that evolves. That's another thing I wouldn't mind getting my hands on when it's accessible. It's probably not going to be cheap though. Yeah, I've looked into some of the AI art tools that are used to like modify and iterate within a music program. So far, I haven't seen something that was wholesale created from the ground up using AI. I know that's something that's being developed as well. And just like AI video, right? That's going to probably take a lot of refining before it's not janky and weird. But I think there's a lot of interesting potential as a tool. And the idea that I think some people just refuse to acknowledge that it's going to be a thing or exist is a little bit short-sighted because it's not going away. That's like a good example would be when digital art became a thing coming in like the 90s and 2000s. Traditional artists said the exact same thing. They said digital art and tablets is never going to replace, you know, markers and paints and everything on paper. And it hasn't. That medium still exists. It's just a different tool. I will say that once the AI art things figure out how to not screw up hands, that's going to be really interesting because then it's a whole new game. Since one of the ways you can see, you folks all know this, I don't have to explain it, but if you want to be able to see if something's AI generated and it's like a human type character, just look at the hands first. If the AI is going to screw anything up, it's going to be the hands. All right, let's go for more armored type things on the upper arms compared to the other one. Blood says, I still don't think our world is ready for it because our modern laws and such aren't up to date, deal with things like, I'm assuming you mean AI. That's true. One thing that's really a hot topic now, and probably will be until something changes or like a precedent is set, is the idea of intellectual property as it relates to AI and use of AI, because you can't copyright a style, right? That's a lot of the things you hear, some of the more less ethical uses of AI always saying you can't copyright style, you can only copyright works, which the legal precedent, at least in this country, that's true. And I don't know if the actual copyright and intellectual property law has to change, or even if it did, I don't know how you would put a protection in place. Like, I don't know if I could put down into like writing something that says this drawing style is uniquely mine, no one else does anything like it, and if someone steals it via an AI tool, I have the right to sue them. Like, maybe some people with a really unique art style or technique could probably do that, but I can tell you right now, the way I draw is very common. You know, it's this particular style I do in like a real primitive, simple way. It's a dime a dozen out there. People who are much better than me can do it a lot better. So like I could never claim that anything I do here from the drawing perspective is so unique that it can never be duplicated. That would be just naive on my part to think that for me personally. But other people who are pros might be able to do that, and maybe they do hands a certain way, maybe they have certain specific drawing elements or styles that is uniquely theirs. But you'd have to put all that into some sort of legal protection in order to keep someone from using it, and that's tough. Flop says, I think it's less art style and more that their work was stolen and ripped to make the AI art. Yes, that's a different issue than what I'm talking about when it comes to style. The use of training art generation tools when it's being trained on artists' work without their consent, that's an entirely different problem. Because you make the argument that, you know, the copyrighted works that they're using to train the algorithms that create the art are copyrightable, and if the artist doesn't give consent, then that's plagiarism. But I don't know if anything like that's gone to court yet because it's still so new. Because, like, if you think about the flip side in that scenario, let's say, you know, one of my drawings gets fed into an algorithm and it creates something that's very clearly just like a rip-off of something I did. Might not be as obvious because, again, my style is very simple and basic, but that could be grounds for a potential lawsuit because it's very clearly derived from something that I made and that I didn't consent to being used to train an algorithm. I think that's the fight people are trying to make now. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the courts rule as far as what they say. But I'm hoping they rule in favor of the artist because that would set a precedent that a lot of these shady AI companies wouldn't be able to just rip stuff off for their tools unless they risk being sued, you know? Oh, that's right, Capri Sun. Did you redeem small? My bad. Let me go figure out where it was. It was way up before we started talking about... Yep. It was right after I killed my stream by accident. My bad. Let me do that right now. Thanks for reminding me. Here. I'll give you 10 minutes. Or longer if I forget. On the topic of AI art and disputes, Plup says, I think people are trying to take this to court. I'm not informed about this. I haven't been keeping tabs on the latest, but I think some of the more well-known artists that have a lot of public work are definitely trying to do that. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens and what the courts say. I think they would have to be able to prove that the AI development people fed in copyrighted work without consent of the artists, and all of that stuff is reproducible as far as what they use. It's all data, and I'm pretty sure that's something you could prove in discovery. We'll just have to see. It's a brave new world. I'm just not really, me personally, if you want me to get on a soapbox for a minute, when it comes to the art community, I'm just not really a fan of people outright crucifying folks who talk about AI when it comes to art specifically. In general, there's a lot of discussion, but you can't even talk about it around some artists without them getting really upset. And it's just a tool. It's a tool that a lot of people are using unethically, sure, and you can get mad at that all day. I think that's very justified. But the idea that, I'm not talking about anybody I know, I've never gotten into trouble recently, but you know, if I was talking to a friend of mine who's an artist and I was talking about AI and you know they jump on me just because I'm talking about it, I think that's a little bit unfair. But you know, a lot of people, it's their livelihood, so I get it. I just feel like it should be a discussion instead of just an argument. All right, what are we doing for this person's lower half? Maybe we can have kind of like higher greave type coverings here. Similar type of pants. Okay, Capri Sun says the case got dismissed but will likely come back up. Interesting. It's not going to be the end of what we see, though, so we'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens until like a legal precedent or a ruling is made. Because once that happens, then people will have something to follow. Pre-Sun says, "Nah, AI is here to stay, and that scares me. It's not going away. It's not going away. Like it or not, it's here. That's the reality." Whether or not we end up with like a Skynet future, like Terminator, like we were talking about up above, we'll just have to see. As soon as they give control of the weapon systems to AI, and that's when you should start worrying. All right, let's finish off the leg gear for model number 2. Pup says, "Sorry to go off topic, but Raku, have you read or watched Doro Hedoro?" I think you've asked me about that one before, and I've heard of it, but I've never read or watched it. It's an older series, right? Is it done? I think it's been done, right? I've heard of it from a couple different people besides you, but I have not. I've not seen it. Iconic says, "Small coup done." Yeah, I know Iconic. I told Capri Sun I'd give them a little bit extra time, and I forgot to redeem it. Oops, I don't mess with that layer. All right, let's take a look at model number 2. Again, more armor based. I'll slide this one over just so it's not overlapping on the primary. We'll line all these boys up here like so. Make sure I save. I'm gonna kind of crank through these, and then at the end we'll kind of go through and see what we sort of ended up with. Ideally, I'd like to do a bunch of these. We'll just have to see. I tend to draw slower when I'm talking, which is fine. That's the whole point of hanging out with you folks. If I wanted to get stuff done in quantity, then I wouldn't be doing it on stream, but that's not as fun. All right, let's do another one. And I will We'll take off small mode for now. I'll just put my chest on screen. You folks can watch my model breathe for the rest of the stream. If I ever get a new model done, I should give him nips. That's another thing that I keep saying I'm thinking about, but I have yet to actively do anything about, and that's looking at getting a new model. I'm pretty sure I'd have to choose between doing that or investing in hardware. I don't think I could do both. Models are not cheap in the VTuber scene. But there's nothing wrong with the one I have now. But it's nice to be able to switch between ones with different outfits. Capri-san asked, did Pups make your model too? No, I had my model commissioned and I had my model drawn, rigged, and then re-rigged. Pups made Bean Bun's outfit or model though, right? I didn't realize that until I was on their stream one day. And I saw Pups' name in the credits, and then the character style made a lot of sense. But yeah, Bean Bun, friend of the channel, their model was done by Pups. Oh yeah, Panella is currently being worked on, right? There's still no ETA on when that's going to happen. No ETA yet. That's fair. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to think of hairstyles. Let's go a little bit shorter. Shorter anime pro tag hair, maybe. Maybe make it not quite so square and lumpy looking. We'll do like a real spiky, like a cloud inspired spiky one after this. Those are always fun. Basically, try and cosplay this hairstyle. Now, for this one, we've done a more mostly covered outfit. We've done an armored outfit that's mostly covered. What if we did one that's less covered but still armored? There's a specific race that kind of specializes in outfits like this, so we can do that. Pulp's asked, Raku, is this concept for your novels or just for fun? Both. We're doing concept work that's within the realm of the stuff that I write, but it's not like specific characters or anything. It's just ideas. I haven't done like a brainstorming session in a bit, so that's what this stuff is for. That maybe I can use turn into fully fleshed out concepts later. Let's go. Now it's sleeved. It's a sleeveless bodysuit. Nah, we kind of did that already. Capri-san asks, novels? You write books? Are you asking me? I don't write books per se. Like, I'm not a published author by any means, but I do write. I don't write as much nowadays because I'm so busy, but I have written quite a bit of fiction that's all based around a universe of characters and whatnot. then all the stuff you see me drawing here with like this particular manga inspired style, it comes from that universe of fiction. So like, without getting into too much, because I'm sure you folks won't find that interesting, but there's basically like a planetary system that the whole series of fiction works takes place in. And in the planetary system, there are 11 races spread across the different planets. And each race has their own like genetic origins, their own cultural specific things, languages, clothing styles, and a lot of design elements that are respective to each of the 11 races. And so what you see here are examples of what that looks like. And I haven't really gone into it too much because it's not really a project I've talked about as part of content. And honestly, talking too much about it would probably enable you folks to figure out who I am outside of VTubing, which is why I kind of don't want to do that. So far, I haven't had any weirdos trying to dig up my non-VTuber stuff, but if I talked about that stuff, you'd probably be able to find it relatively easily. But I still need the practice on drawing in this style, hence why we do this on stream. And I've been able to use this style of stuff, not just for my own fiction works and anything like that, but also for other projects I'm working on. So it's not just some secret project you folks are never going to hear about. This stuff can be used for a lot of things. Yeah, I used to write a lot more a few years ago before I picked up what I consider too many hobbies. But the stories are still there, and I'd like to finish them at some point because there is a story I want to tell. But I'm sure Pwups and anyone else who does character work can attest. I'm guilty of just wanting to create a million characters. They might not all make it into a story or have a purpose, but sometimes you just have an idea for, person A or B. Like, I want to flesh that out into a character. I don't know if I'm going to use them for anything, but I have an idea and I want to make it materialize before I forget. If I don't take an idea and put it down, I will absolutely forget. On the topic of digging into people's past, Plup says, I don't get people who dig stuff up on people's rude behavior. Well, stay off Twitter and a lot of social media, because there's a whole lot of that. Interestingly enough, this is not really like secret or anything. It's just a story I've been following for a while. There was pretty big news over the weekend because you folks have heard me talk about the band Sleep Token. I keep telling everyone to check out. One of my favorite bands I discovered in the last year. That someone who has not been identified, and as far as we can tell from just what's been reported, was not like a fan from the community, but like an actual troll and person trying to do damage, doxed the entirety of the band. And it was like a Telegram chat or something, and a bunch of personal details about the band was leaked out. And that is not good because the band is anonymous. And a bunch of their information, including potentially their addresses, the person claimed they had their birth certificates, pictures of their families, their spouses, partners, and whatnot, and was going to leak all that out. And as a result, the band nuked their Instagram account. One of the band members left social media for a few days. I think he came back, but all the stuff is gone. And now everyone is wondering if the band is going to end because now their information has been put at risk and their safety has been put at risk, which would be very bad, but understandable. And that all happened within the last few days. So there's been a lot of people trying to figure out what actually happened and what's going on, but really, really messed up and dangerous more than anything else, and disrespectful. But it is one of the things that is unfortunately pretty common in today's age. If you attract enough negative attention, people will find ways to try and ruin your life, and that sucks. Like Capri Sun is saying, a lot of times some unhinged individuals can ruin something nice for everybody. But so far, we haven't seen an actual response from the band. I think they're actually looking at legal recourse because it is illegal to dox somebody. It is a crime. Those that band is in the UK, so I don't know how their doxing laws work, but there's a data privacy act. I think they have something like that over there, and releasing someone's private information is a breach of privacy. So it sounds like from a story I was reading earlier today, some members of the group saw what was going on, and before they left, they reported it to the band's management. So the people who were involved know what's going on, and if the person's been outed, then it's probably not going to go well because it's evidence documented of them committing a crime. You don't want to do that. But like we are talking about, unfortunately, with the internet, it's becoming more common for messed up stuff like that to happen. Capri Sun says I could ask my girlfriend about the doxing laws they have there. She's asleep right now. Yeah, it'd be an interesting question to ask, like how they handle it. I know in the states here, I don't know too much about it, but I think just doxing someone is not a crime in every state. It's kind of weird because we all remember hearing about the uh, Jack's Films and Sniper Wolf doxing drama from like a month and a half ago or so. And I don't think, well, I don't know. I think legal stuff is being done, but nothing's publicly happened yet. When Sniper Wolf doxed Jack's Films house and everything, which that was in California, and California has some specific laws for that. I just don't know what they are. I don't live in California. But yeah, I have no sympathy for people who get in trouble for doing stuff like that because it's dangerous. You put someone's personal information out there, and some crazy individuals that might not be the person who leaked it, but just crazy individuals could show up at their house. Or like that instance a couple years ago where that one streamer was beefing with someone, and then the person got mad and doxed that person and swatted them, the streamer, but they accidentally got the wrong house. They went across the street to some other guy who had a family, and the police like basically went in there and knocked on his door. He didn't know what was going on. He went out to kind of confront him, and he got shot and killed. And he was not the target of the swatting because the swatter made a mistake. But they caught that kid. He's in Europe somewhere, and I'm pretty sure he's doing jail time. Which is the way it should be. People who dox and or swat people should be fully punishable by the extent of the law, because people can die, and that's really bad. Pup says I don't understand why people swat or dox. Well, it's fights on the internet and or trolling and or both. People think they can get away with stuff because they're behind a keyboard, but the reality is almost everything you do leaves a digital trail unless you are really careful. But even then, phone logs, data logs, a lot of stuff can be traced, and people think they can't get caught. And then it's kind of like a FAFO, right? You can do something like that and be prepared for the consequences. And I think the consequences should be pretty severe. But anyway, I didn't mean to derail on such a serious topic. Just since we were talking about personal information and whatnot, the whole sleep token thing just happened. So I've been kind of following that story, and hopefully all of the band members are okay. Sun says, "No worries. I'm sorry that happened to your favorite band. Hopefully they're okay too." Yeah, we don't really know what the band themselves are doing because again they've been quiet. But my guess is it's because there's probably legal stuff being done to deal with this, which is the way it should be, right? The last thing you want to do is create a public spectacle because the person doing it wants the attention and wants to cause chaos. So handling it quietly and behind the scenes with the authorities is probably the best way to approach that. All right, let's see if we can do a bit more of a variation on the foot gear. I was thinking kind of like stereotypical ninja footgear, like armored tabis almost. I don't know if that's really a thing, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Oh, I see we got a hydrate and a stretch from Capri Sun. Oh, almost done with my smoothie. Oh, I see how Connex hit me with a save reminder. Good call. Good call. I am notoriously bad at saving. Fortunately, I think, and Plups can probably corroborate if this is true or not. I feel like Clip Studio is a little more stable and less of a resource hog than Photoshop. Because I've had Photoshop crash on me before and it sucks. But for Clip Studio, I find that doesn't really happen often. I can't remember the last time this program crashed. Knock on wood. But I also know that this program takes up less system resources. Photoshop's a resource hog, which is annoying, and that's one of the cons of using that one. I remember what I was gonna do. I was gonna give Homeboy a mask. It's not supposed to be like a ninja, but there's some ninja adjacent theming here, including kind of like an Oni mask. Blup says it is better than Photoshop. My program has only crashed like once ever. Yeah, I think you have to be really pushing Clip Studio for it to hit like its operating capacity. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. But I do appreciate that it's not going to drain my resources, and or I think Photoshop, at least in the past previous iterations, had memory leak issues. So if you're using it for a long time, like hours and hours on end, it could bog your system down. But I don't know if the current versions do that. I honestly don't use Photoshop for that long. Like if I'm here on stream, it'll be for a couple hours, maybe 3 at the most if I'm not streaming. But usually I'm not running it for that long. But I'm also doing things like running 2 instances of RAID in the background and watching YouTube videos. So if anything was going to cripple and crash my system when I'm running Photoshop, it would be all of those things. Okay. Let's compare this one to the others and see where we're at. And we'll save here. I can make them hold hands. Each of these particular just faceless characters, the hair is just meant to kind of be distinct for each one, not tied to any specific idea or any established canon lore or anything. These are just random characters, but each example here, just to give you folks a little insight into the lore and fiction stuff, each one of these is meant to be reflective of different races' style. And it's a little bit tough to see just in base sketches because there are a lot of similar themes and whatnot, but color paletting and typical colors used by each of the 11 races makes them a lot more distinct. And it'd be easier to show the kind of distinction if this was in color. Because just for example, this particular model's color palette would be a bit more muted and light. Whites, grays, light greens, really kind of light tones in general, really common for outfits from that particular race. This one here is almost a polar opposite. A lot of dark obscuring colors like dark blues, purples, blacks. And for armor, kind of like pale bone kind of colors because the armor is meant to be similar to like bone in texture. This particular style and race, a bit more kind of clashing colors because the armor and clothing style, it's a little bit hard to see with such a simple outfit like this, but the design style is meant to be very chaotic. A lot of times it's kind of revealing on both the male and female type of outfits, but you'd see things like a lot of like blood red contrasted with lighter yellows, dark purples contrasted with like kind of greens and whatnot. Almost like venomous colors, really common for this particular race. And so we don't really see that because this isn't in color, but part of the color paletting is what I sort of developed, again, as part of the lore to set these apart. And it's kind of hard to see that in just sketches, but I figure that'd be worth mentioning. Iconic says, be right back, I'm going to eat. All right, enjoy your dinner. We will be here. Hopefully I've done like 2 more of these by the time you come back. All right, I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna do like crazy anime spiky hair. We're gonna do that next. And this one, I kind of have an idea of the outfit type for this one. So we're not gonna wholesale rip off Cloud because I don't want to get sued. But the idea of, again, try and cosplay this if you have the hairspray is always kind of fun to mess around with. Capri Sun says, can you wholesale rip off his mentor, Zach Fair, instead? I'll be honest, keep it 100 with you folks. I have never played Final Fantasy VII. I didn't have a PlayStation back when the original came out. And I do own a version of Remake, but it's the original PS4 version. And so I haven't played FF7 Remake at all. I plan on playing it eventually once the entire story or set of stories, chapters, whatever is done, just so I can play it all at once and not have to wait. But I've heard good things. I've heard good things about Remake. And obviously the original. One sec. Sun says, that's valid. I didn't play the original until I was 17 in 2010. Like I've kind of talked about before, and this is not like a knock against anyone who likes FF7. I understand it's one of the most groundbreaking games in video game history, and I don't have any ill will towards it, but I really don't play Final Fantasy games. Like, it's not really a series I've played a lot of. And like, you've heard me talk about it before. I think I mentioned it on other people's streams too when FF comes up, but my favorite is 6 because I played it on the Super Nintendo because I am ancient. And a lot of people like 6. That's not news. But a lot of people who grew up in the era after Super Nintendo and like the PlayStation era, obviously, or their first exposure was most likely 7. But beyond 6, I've played 6, I played 4, like 3/4 of 4. I never beat it. I've played like 4/5 of 10 and half of 15. So if you put all that together, I've played like 2 whole Final Fantasies. The problem I have with 10, and this is something that's gotten me in trouble before, but I'm trying to phrase it in the best way possible. I think 10 is a good game. I think it's a little overrated. What lost me a bit on 10 was the story and like half of the cast. I don't think every character in 10 is bad, and I like the designs of the cast, but I don't really like Tidus. I don't think Yuna's that interesting. I think Lulu's kind of cool, and I think Waka and Riku are fine. Waka's actually awesome. I like him. But the game couldn't hold my attention till the very end, and I basically stopped right in like the last dungeon, which I probably could have pushed through and played the whole thing to say I beat it, but I just had no interest in doing so. But I understand for a lot of people that was one of the most significant RPGs they played. So, you know, it's not a knock against 10. I just think it gets put a little bit too high on a pedestal. And like probably the second worst thing an RPG can do is not keep my interest. The first worst thing it can do is annoy me to the point I put it down, which was Star Ocean 4. And you folks have heard me rant about Star Ocean 4 probably too much at this point, so I won't do it again, but that's the only RPG that I had to put down out of sheer frustration. FF10 just kind of bored me at the end, which is not as egregious. Like, I didn't hate the cast, and I just didn't feel like finishing the game. Star Ocean 4, I wanted to punch every single member of the cast, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2. And if you ever want to know one reason why Star Ocean 4 has such a notorious legacy, I will link you folks a clip, which I inflict on everybody because, you know, if I had to see it, you all do as well. I remember sending it to Kuno, and his response was, I have never frowned as hard as I have watching this video. I have the clip on demand. I'm going to put it in chat, and you folks have heard me talk about this before. I know Pwups has. But I'm going to link it in chat. Everybody just take a second and watch it. And then we'll talk about it as a class. Let me go into my chat and figure out where I put it. There it is. I think it's like a 3-minute clip. It's not long. It's on YouTube. So it's not like unsafe for work, nothing like that. It's from the game, and this was created and acted out by real people. Just keep that in mind when you watch it. Shame too, because the combat in Star Ocean 4 was actually pretty good. The combat was great, but good lord, the entirety of the cast and the story just became insufferable. I talked about that clip. I'm actually probably shut up so you folks can watch it, but I talked about that clip in our Salt Table sessions when we were talking about Star Ocean 4. It's just been a while. Plop says I miss the old game on Dreamcast. I got some thoughts on the older Star Ocean games. We'll wait till everyone comes back and I'll kind of talk a little bit about it. Was the first Star Ocean game on Dreamcast? I know the second one was on PlayStation 1. That's the one that got remade recently and released on Steam and I think Switch and a bunch of maybe other consoles. That's the second story, which is the only one I'd played before. No, actually that's not true. I played the third one too. I never beat the third one. I was till the end of time. But the remake of 2, I was playing it on the Switch before Dragon Quest Monsters came out, is really good. I'm probably going to pick that up again once I finish with DQM. But it's a really good remake and overall pretty fun RPG. I could see why that one's so popular. Pup says, I have no clue, honestly. I just enjoyed making a character and attacking. Well, in Star Ocean, you don't make characters. It's set cast members in the game. Are you sure you're not thinking of Phantasy Star? Because Phantasy Star was like a more like Monster Hunter MMO-ish. In fact, I think it predates Monster Hunter. I never got into Phantasy Star. I probably would have liked it a lot. Capri Sun says, oh my god, that was awful. I was just thinking of Phantasy Star when I saw the characters. The art style of 4 is also a little weird. The series from the third one on kind of used this like 3D anime character look. But in 4, 3 was alright, but 4, they have this kind of weird uncanny valley look, and all the characters look kind of like dolls. It's very strange. They're still using kind of iterations of that style now, since they're still making Star Ocean games for some reason. The last one was not good, from what I heard. But if you ever want to inflict emotional and psychological damage on someone, then you just send them Nappy Time with Edgy. Again, we talked about it on Salt Table Sessions when that was over a year ago. The main character, the dude in that scene that's talking to the little girl, his name is Edge Maverick. the protagonist, the main character of Star Ocean 4's name is Edge friggin' Maverick. And one of the things, this is what I mentioned, no, the last time I'll harp on it here, but one of the things that made him insufferable in 4 was late in like middle of the game, something happens and he goes like full emo, like full insufferable emo, and it's just awful. And I hit that point in the game, and I immediately went online and looked up, does it get better? And everyone's like, no. I said, okay, I'm out. I'm out. Not only do I not like the characters, but if they don't get better, I am not spending more time on this at all. If you ever want to hear me rant at length about Star Ocean 4, just go dig up I think it's the first Salt Table sessions in the archives that we did. I want to bring that series back at some point. We had a bunch of ideas that we still want to talk about on Salt Table sessions. So at some point, Whoops, I need to go talk with Wazzy and Matt and see if we can get the Council of Sodium back together. We still need to do the Pokemon one. I think that one would be really fun. Pre-Sun says Star Ocean first departure had hand-drawn sprites. I think it was like a proper FF game. Yeah, the first two had sprites, and I was telling Pops while we were waiting for Pre-Sun to come back that the remake of Second Story, the second Star Ocean game from PlayStation 1, is what I was playing on Switch, and it's really good. In fact, that's probably the most interesting Star Ocean experience I've had yet. And I'm just going to assume the series stopped with that one. Even though the third one was okay. I heard the ending was really, really bad, but I couldn't even get to the end of the third one without getting bored, and the fourth one made me actually quit. So Pre-Sun says, I didn't vibe with Second Story. Is First Departure getting a remake? I haven't heard. Not that I know. But they've remade the second one a bunch of times. They either reported or re-released it. And I never had a chance to play through it, so I picked it up. And I'm really liking it. It's very polished, but still has a lot of old school feel to it. It's a remake. It's not just a port of the original. Maybe they'll remake the other ones. And then they'll just skip the fourth one, which is called The Last Hope, I think. On the topic of Salt Table sessions, because Pops asked further up in the chat, the Pokemon one we were going to do was talking about everyone's best and worst from each gen of Pokemon. So, and this is what I want to do at some point. So I'll talk to the council at some point. Basically, everybody from the council has to give what they feel are the best and worst Pokemon of each gen. So, was that 8 gens? 8 or 9 gens? So 2 per gen per person. And it's basically like a debate and a discussion on what people think about the picks. So I still would like to do that, because I think everyone has their own hot takes about what they think are the best and worst of each gen. So we didn't axe the concept. We just haven't had time to set up something with all 4 of us. But I really enjoyed the discussions from sessions. So I'd like to resurrect that series this year. I wanted to do it last year, but everyone was pretty busy. So more to come on that. We also I had a notepad list of ideas for sessions as well, beyond just the Pokemon one. Like I think we were gonna do fighting games at some point too, like character critiques and design critiques on fighting games. I think that could be fun. I think, well, it's been a while. Capri Sun, you were here for Salt Table Sessions. It's just been a long time since we've done them. Capri Sun says, I have strong feelings about the Pokemon I like, and while I wouldn't normally look for that content, I feel like you, Matt Walsey, and Plups, I feel like would crap all over something. Yeah, it was 4 of us. Wouldn't unduly crap over something. It's a discussion. Like, no one's right or wrong, which is really funny. Whenever you have Wazzy on like a debate scenario, her ability to concede to an opinion that's different from hers is always really funny. But the point isn't to like say your waifu is trash and you should feel like trash for liking your waifu. It's more like, here's what I think, and let's have a discussion about it. Because like none of our sessions got like aggressively heated. Like no one cares that much. Although if anyone's gonna get into a shouting match, it's gonna be Pwops and Wazzy. Like, and Matt and I will just be there with popcorn, the Michael Jackson in the theater gif. The whole thing's meant to be an interesting debate discussion, which is why I enjoy doing those. It's kind of like a podcast. It's essentially like an interactive podcast with a bunch of people just talking about random stuff or ranting. The very first character critique one we did, I think we did 3 or 4 sessions. I brought Star Ocean characters for mine, and my sections of the discussion was just ranting about how much I hated the 4th Star Ocean game. But yeah, in fact, I'm gonna save. Like I said, stay tuned. Next time I have a call with those wacky Canadians, I'll bring up the resurrection of Sessions again. We've got to use all of the nice assets that Plups drew for the set that we used. It'd be a shame to let those go to waste. Plup said, I know me and Wazzy have something unrelated to bring up next call. Okay, put it down. Oh, regarding Cromartie High? Now you have my interest. Did somebody watch Cromartie High for the first time? You don't have to get into it too much here, Plups, but that's one of my favorite anime, so... Capri Sun says, what's that? Something fun? If you've never heard of the anime Cromartie High School, Capri Sun, I highly recommend it. It is absurdly funny. Think Azumanga Daioh, but instead of schoolgirls, it's a bunch of delinquents, like male delinquent punks. It's so funny. I could give you the whole series if you want, Capri Sun. I have it. I have some old fan sub rips of it. It's in. I have the English dub, which is it's actually really funny in English. Capri Sun says, "Oh yeah, what's Azumanga Daioh? You haven't seen Azumanga Daioh? It's when was that? 2000s? Well, it's like mid 2000s. It was Azumanga Daioh was a manga first, appropriately from the name, but it's like a slice of life comedy series about a bunch of schoolgirls, and it's hilarious. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and it was pretty much uncontested with comedy because I'm not really a huge anime comedy guy, But it was pretty much uncontested until Excel Saga and Cromartie High School came along. Both of those other ones are also high on my list. But yeah, like Pups is saying, Cromartie High has got a pretty good English dub for being an older, like 2000s era anime. It's so funny. It's very kind of like random, but then it's not random. It's kind of hard to describe. If you're interested, I could probably upload it to a spot that you could pull down and watch. It's like 12 episodes, I think. Oh, let's just look, but it's like 15-minute episodes. So like each one is like 2 15 minutes or one 15-minute, and there's like 20 of them. Let me look. I have it on my computer. 10 minutes. Okay. Where did I put it? Yeah, like Pups is saying, it's absurdist humor for sure, but like it's so over the top and wacky. But there is a storyline, and the characters are great. The characters in Cromartie High are just a riot. I'm not gonna give anything away. You just have to watch it. Where did I put it? There it is. I see 26 episodes, but each one is 10 minutes. Let me pull up one. I'll try and mute it so it doesn't. Yeah. So 26 episodes, 10 minutes each, 10 or 11 minutes each. So it's not a really big series. In fact, this whole thing, how much space does it take up? 3 gigs. I think I had the space for it in my shared drive. Yeah, like Pups is saying, it's a short watch, but it's fun. I will put that into a shared spot, and I'll ping you after the stream's done, Capri Sun, when it's up, and you can pull it down. I might have to delete it after you download it because I'm running out of space on my Gmail. But I'll put it up there. You can grab it, and then I'll just pull it off once you've got it. 11 minutes, including the opening and ending. The opening to Cromartie High School is legendary. It's one I'm surprised people don't talk about. I love the opening song to that anime. It's perfect. It's perfect for the show. There are some parts of the dub I'd say that are a little more of the times in like the 2000s, but overall it's pretty well done. Like the voice cast does a good job for that era. It's pretty funny. I think that one really kind of snuck under the radar. I don't even remember who told me to see Cromartie High. I think someone in I knew from class, might even been Japanese class, said, "Hey, you got to see this stuff. It's wild." It's like, come on, really? I think I saw it after Excel Saga, so I was like, is it as funny as Excel Saga? It was pretty funny. It's a different type of funny than Excel Saga. Yeah, exactly. I remember that line from the opening Pups. I need to track that song down. I think it's called Jun. I think the song is called Jun. I forget who it's by. But yeah, absurdist humor at its finest. I'll link you to that, Capri Sun. You have to watch it and report back. Now I just want to quote Cromartie. I've gotta hold off and not spoil it for Capri Sun. I do have Azumanga Daioh. I don't know if I have it on this computer. No, I have it. It's probably on like a burned CD somewhere. That's a bigger series, but it might be on streaming. I don't know about Crunchyroll, but I think streaming services look. I would say also look up Azumanga Daioh. It's really good. I did see a hydrate redeem from Lava King. What's up, Lava King? We're talking about anime. Welcome to the stream. Just for context, Capri-sun, Azumanga Daioh is also what I consider like absurdist humor, but it's not quite as over the top as Cromartie, but it's very kind of similar in a humor style, if that makes sense. A bit more slice of life, but very funny. It's again one of my favorite series. There are some very memorable moments and really fun characters in Azumanga. I have not watched it recently. I think the last time I watched Azumanga was maybe like 8 or so years ago. I'm sure it holds up. I was rewatching Excel Saga recently, and if that holds up, then something like Azumanga would hold up. Lava King says, my arm feels like how Resident Evil bosses look. So, Raku, are you making new avatars? I'm not doing avatars, Lava King. We're doing character concepts, which may or may not be purposed into something in the future. But basically, we're doing... Here, I'll zoom out so you can see. We are taking the Chibi base. We're using the Pwups school of sketching concepts, is what I call it. And we're experimenting around different outfits. And playing around on ideas and talking about random stuff. Iconic says, I return what I miss. Oh, we started talking about anime, Iconic. Basically, we were convincing Capri-sun to go watch Cromartie High School. Which I would recommend everybody else watch as well. And I think you might have been gone when I inflicted that Star Ocean clip on everybody. But I can post it again if you really want to see it. Or for, because again, Lava King popped in. If Iconic and Lava King want to experience the same thing as the rest of chat, I can post it again. I think it's just on my clipboard because I haven't copied anything else. You'd hate to be left out of all the fun, right? Plop says, no, I think we're good, actually. That's no fun. You have to spread the suffering. Exactly what Capri-sun's saying. If I had to suffer, then so does everybody else. Tell you what, I'm going to put the link in chat, and you can choose what you want to do. You could choose whether or not you can watch the video. Just know that you're missing out on an enlightening part of video game history by not watching it. And that's all I'll say. Plup says, actually, I'm a good person and I don't want anyone to suffer. That's no fun. The only way to get rid of a curse is to spread it to somebody else. Okay. Let me move number 4 over here, and we'll start working on number 5. Lava King says, no, Raku, you're thinking of an STD. It could easily apply to both or either, Lava King, let's be real. And I did see Capri-sun mentioned up in the chat before it scrolls off. It looks like the streaming services have both Cromartie High and Azumanga. I will say, Capri-sun, you don't have to verify right now, but if you don't have access to the English dub for Cromartie on the streaming services or whatever you're using, let me know, because I think it needs to be experienced in English The dub is a different beast. They're both good. It's good in Japanese too, but the way it was localized is really funny. Again, keep in mind it's 2000s humor in a lot of cases, but there's some really good, really good effort on the voice cast, more so than you'd expect for something that old. Lava King says like Ghost Stories different. No, they didn't quite like go off the deep end like Ghost Stories. The dub for Cromartie is still like in within the wheelhouse of what it was supposed to be, but it's just unique. Okay, I did see the hydrate from Iconic, and Capri Sun says have the dub for both. Okay, I didn't watch Azumanga in English. I you're fine with both. I like the Japanese dub because that's what I watched initially. But the English dub's fine. The only thing I disagreed with was them giving one character who's from Osaka a southern accent. I really don't like it when dubs do that. But everything else about the dub is fine. You could watch it in either for Azumanga, but definitely watch Cromartie High in English and report back. Love King says, "Oh hey chat, Golden Sun is online now." Yeah, I saw that. That came out right. The port or remastered version of Golden Sun. That's really cool. I think everyone should play Golden Sun. I played the first one, but not the second. I really liked the first one. On the topic of Osaka, Pups asked what accent is acceptable. It's for Osaka, it'd be more like a New Yorker accent. Something that'd be kind of like more kind of in line with that than like a deep south, because Osaka is on the west side of the country. It's like the west coast. West, a little south of Tokyo, but it's on the west side. But for some reason, people in the older dubs would always localize someone with a Kansai accent, which is from like the Osaka area, as like southern, like a Texan, and I always found that kind of jarring. I'm assuming Lava King's talking about Golden Sun. Lava King says, "I'm trying right now. I've wanted to try it since I found that strategy guidebook on my street years ago." Yeah, you have to report back what you think about Golden Sun, Lava King. It's kind of an underrated RPG in the old library, but I really liked it. That was Advance, right? Was that Game Boy Advance? I think it was Advance. Capri Sun says, "How south are we talking about? Like Sawyer from Lost, or like I've never seen Lost, so I wouldn't know. But like, it's kind of jarring when you see a character that's supposed to be like from Osaka in an anime, but then they show up in like the English dub and they're like, well, y'all better get on down to the tavern and yada yada yada, yeehaw." Kind of throws you because, like, especially if they're meant to be Japanese, just kind of seems weird. Capri Sun says the first 13 episode hold up today is some of the best TV of all time. Are you talking about Lost? So I knew some people that I worked with who were really into Lost, and then the ending happened, and I've never seen people so like disappointed until Game of Thrones ended, and it was some of the same people, which was pretty funny. But yeah, it's one I never really got into. On the topic of Golden Sun, I think the collection, Lava King, correct me if I'm wrong, but the collection that just came out, the first and second one, I think there's only 2 games, right? So I think that you get them in a set, but the original Golden Sun's the one I played, the first one, and it's a really solid RPG. There might have been a third one. I don't know. I didn't play the entire series because couldn't find a copy of the second one. Okay, yeah, there are three of them. But yeah. Well, let's see. What do we want to do for hair? Oh, let's go maximum edge. Let's go Ed Sheeran. Nothing says brooding, edgy character like really long emo bangs covering one eye. I guess. I don't know. I guess technically my hair was long enough to do that at some point. But it was never really my scene. I think I was too old when the emo scene was a thing, which is kind of my life story in general. Alright, I gotta think about what I want to do for this character. On the topic of Guilty Gear, I see Capri Sun says, I like Giovanna. I would let her beat me up, to be honest, from Strive. I believe she has the Ghost or Spirit Doggo, I think. Yeah, that's Giovanna. I need to get back into Strive. We haven't done enough Strive here on the channel. I haven't been doing much fighting games lately, but I'm still very much interested in the ones that are out there. Elfelt was the latest DLC character for Strive. She was in Xrd, the kind of Valentine. I think her last name is Valentine, in fact. But she's the one that had like the gun. And like she had like the whole like wedding theme. I know nothing about what they did to her in Strive, but she's back. Lava King says, in it, very excited, all caps. Holy crap, Raku-san, the composer for Golden Sun is the composer for Star Ocean and Dark Souls. I did not know that. Obviously, that would have been way before. Well, no. Actually, that would have been after Star Ocean, but before Dark Souls. I honestly don't remember the music for Golden Sun. I remember it being good, but I can't think of any themes off the top of my head that I just remember from memory. But that's kind of interesting. I remember one of the big draws for Golden Sun was that it was 3D. Like the character models and everything and environments were 3D modeled, but like they're in like 2.5D or like top down in the overworld, and you get into a battle and it goes like 3D over the shoulder behind the characters. Again, really cool game. Highly recommend. I'd be interested to hear if Golden Sun still holds up as well as you'd think it would. Yeah, Lao King. It's like 2.5D, but the perspective changes when you're in battle. You're like kind of behind the party 3D, and they're like jumping across a plane to fight things. All right, let's see. I have an idea for this one. We're gonna go for kind of Different style of armor. And I've got an idea for one of the pieces. Lava King, today wasn't judo, right? Isn't that Thursdays? So hopefully whatever is up with your arm is not judo related. Otherwise, I imagine you're going to have a rough time. Pre-Sun says, Minish Cap was a good Zelda game. Doesn't deserve the hate it gets. I haven't heard a lot of people hate on Minish Cap, honestly, Capri Sun. A lot of people I know who played it really liked it. It's one of the ones I haven't played from the handheld Zeldas, but I've always heard people speak highly of it. I don't know, maybe I just don't know anyone who hates it. Ah, I see. Lava King says it's not judo related, just hurts. Well, hope it feels better by your class tomorrow. Plup says, I feel like people hate on different Zelda games more, like Spirit Tracks or Hourglass. I hear people hate on Skyward Sword the most. Like, maybe it's just the most vocal of people I've seen, but that's the one I hear people trash the most of the Zelda games. Never played it. I didn't have a system that could play it. Actually, wait, that was Wii, right? Was it Wii or Wii U for Skyward? Twilight Princess was Wii. Was Skyward Sword Wii U? Oh, it's the second one on Wii. Okay. Yeah, I've got no horse in that race. I just know people tend to not like that one. Still need to play Tears of the Kingdom. I vowed to not pick that one up until I beat Breath of the Wild. It'll be a bit. Iconic says Twilight Princess is best because Midna. Nothing beats Midna. I do know there's a pretty big vocal following of Midna enthusiasts. I've seen the fan art. I didn't play any of the Zelda games on Wii, now that I think about it. I remember when Twilight Princess came out. And I remember when Skyward Sword came out. But I didn't really play... I played a lot of handheld Zeldas, but not the console ones at that point. Like, I never had a GameCube, so I couldn't play the GameCube one. It was Wind Waker. So I didn't really get back into Zelda until Link Between Worlds came out on 3DS. And that was a really good one. Lava King says, nobody talks about Four Swords Adventures. I didn't know anybody who played it because of the setup required for it, but I remember hearing people talk about it that had played it and they liked it a lot. But you needed a crew to play Four Sword Adventures, right? You couldn't play that solo. Oh, the regular Four Swords was the one that required people. Adventures could be played solo. Got it. Did you folks ever play the the Oracle games. Is it Time and Seasons? The ones that were made by Capcom, I believe. They were on Game Boy. Was it Game Boy Color? I did not have an opportunity to play those. I did play Link's Awakening, but I did not play the Oracle games. But I've heard they're quite good. Oh, Minish Cap was Capcom too. Okay. Minish Cap was Advance? Advance or DS? Advance? No, it couldn't have been DS. That would have been too much later. Was it Advance? It's been so long. I don't remember. Okay. Man, time really flies. You hear all of the supposed buzz and chatter on the internet about the next iteration of the Switch. Of course, because I look on Twitter like a fool, a lot of what I'm seeing is discourse about how it's going to be as strong as a PS4 hardware-wise, which I don't know if that's been confirmed yet, but I honestly have never really given much thought to the horsepower behind Nintendo consoles. I care about the games. I care about the games and what's going to be released on there. I don't really care about how strong they are. They're never going to be. It's not going to be like a current gen hardware. They just don't do that. Iconic says, wish they'd remake Minish Cap with Wind Waker type 3D. They might give it the treatment like they did for Link's Awakening, because they redid Link's Awakening with 3D, right? I never played that, but I heard it was good. They should do that with all of the handheld ones. They should bring back the Oracle games. Do Minish Cap. It's not like people won't buy them. The Nintendo fan base will always buy remakes. Speaking of which, I never did pick up the remake for Metroid 2 or Dread, in fact, but I heard good things about both of those. Iconic said, I didn't care about Switch performance until I beat MK1 on it. You picked up MK1 on the Switch? No way. You got to be trolling, Iconic. There's no way you played through MK1 on the Switch. Why? You have a computer, right? Why wouldn't you have picked it up? Oh, your brother. I got it. Still, though, that sounds like absolute pain. I'm surprised they released the game on Switch. I mean, props to them for being inclusive, but good lord, the fidelity and downgrade in just about everything looked rough, to say the least. Lava King says, I bought MK11 on Switch and learned that I should get one on PS5. Yeah, so I didn't end up picking up MK1. I do want to play it at some point, but I might wait until more of the content is out, and I don't know if I'm going to play it on stream. I heard a lot of complaints about some of the online features that were kind of missing, and that was one of the reasons why I opted to not pick it up right away. But I know mechanically it's a good game. But I wonder what they've kind of tweaked and added in the online system, because there were no lobbies when it launched. I think they added that in one of the first updates. But I gotta be a little bit selective with my time. Still gotta get back to Street Fighter 6 at some point, when the next DLC character comes out or sooner. So what you're saying, Iconic, is that even though the game doesn't look as good, it still plays decently on Switch, which it better. I feel like there's zero reason to play it if it doesn't at least have a decent feel, despite not looking as nice. Okay, played great. Just didn't look as nice. If you look at the side-by-side comparison, like the PC version and the Switch version, it's rough. But hey, not everyone has every console. Iconic says, it just looked like vomit during gameplay. Plop says, okay, I'm going to go. My tummy is rumbling. I'll pester you later, Raku. Bye. Alright, Plops, I'm going to assume you're going to consume soup. Since you like soup, right? So enjoy your soup or whatever else you're eating. And thanks for tuning in. I will catch you later. We should have Capri Sun report on Cromartie in the Discord. That way everyone who's not here can also see the discussion. I know Plups is in the Discord. They're not always talking in the Discord, which is fine, but I think they're in there. They're part of the test group, in fact, to make sure the Discord was working. But yes, Cromartie-based discussions are imminent. Oh, and I almost missed Capri Sun right underneath. Capri Sun's taking off too. Have yourself a good evening. And we'll be back tomorrow. I think I mentioned this earlier on, but tomorrow we'll be doing a rare midweek jam stream. And Capri Sun gave me some material to discuss and talk about. So we'll be going through that tomorrow in the evening. So I will definitely catch you later. I think we'll probably be wrapping up after I finish this last character, and we'll take stock of what we've done, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I think I'm going to need to explain parts of this particular character's outfit, since this one's a little bit more out there than the other ones. But we'll zoom out, and then I will explain what we've done here before we wrap up for today. I'll leave it here for now. So the armor style for this particular character is meant to sort of invoke the imagery for like an insect shell. The whole kind of deal with this particular race is that they have connections to these insect-like creatures as part of their genetic lineage. So a lot of the outfits, whether they're armor or not, have this sort of shell-like look to them. Very kind of Monster Hunter-esque, which is pretty much everything I draw now that I think about it. But in addition, this particular thing on the model's right arm, or our left, is a weapon. It's basically like a large gauntlet that covers the entire arm up to the shoulder, and the actual weapon bits are these long sort of claws. And it's hard to tell just in sketch form, but the idea behind this particular weaponry is that the material is kind of like a flexible but sharp type of material. And I think I've talked about this before, but it's been a while. The claws can extend out, and they're flexible, kind of like whips, so they can be used kind of to lash targets and cut them. So not just straight out, but they can be kind of flexible, almost like tendrils, again, keeping with the insect-like theme. And that's part of the way the weaponry works that this particular race uses. And sometimes they're equipped on one arm, sometimes they're equipped on both, but they're kind of a unique design element that you see on a lot of the concept types for this particular race here. So let's see. I guess I'll leave that one there for now. We'll save. And to take stock of what we've done, again, the idea was to kind of comb through and put down ideas for concepts that can be potentially used for character stuff later, and just bounce kind of design elements and themes off of one another. And honestly, I think the discussion was probably more compelling than what I was drawing today, but you folks always bring good discussions here, which is the whole point of these streams. But we've completed 5 male models with different outfits, different ideas. And next time we do this, I'll probably switch to a female model if we do this style again with the chibi bases for sketching, just to sort of switch up the concept and themes and whatnot. But I think this exercise is good to do. I need the practice, honestly. I haven't drawn like digital drawing for quite some time because I've been focusing so much on the sprite-based work. Iconic says, great stuff, dude. Oh, thanks, Iconic. Again, it's all concept work and ideas, but I feel like we discussed a lot in addition to just doing drawing, which is the whole point. So let me go ahead and save this. We're good. Let me pause the BGM. And let me see who's online that we can get ready to raid, and we will wrap up before it gets too late. I do need to see to dinner soon, and hopefully it's not still dumping down snow. I need to go look. Let's see. Of course, that doesn't show it. Let me go pull up my main list and see if anyone else I know is online. Oh, Dio's online. What's she doing? Just chatting? We can raid Dio Fest and see how her community is doing. So let's go ahead and queue that up. Iconic says ideas and concepts are always important. I feel like that's primarily what I do whenever I draw. I should really realize and render stuff more often, but I'd rather outsource it to someone who could do it better. Maybe that's kind of selfish, but it's okay. We'll eventually get back to doing more of the fleshed out concepts, probably taking this stuff and adapting it into a realized character. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and go to outro. Mute this. Actually, I gotta keep the raid. Let me do that. And we will call it good here. Again, tomorrow we'll be back for an evening jam stream. I haven't done one on a Thursday before. I'm interested to see if people are going to be around, but we've got some stuff to talk about. We'll be going through some beatbox practice, some technique sound theory, and we'll be doing BGM brainstorming as usual. So once again, thanks to everyone who came and hung out today, and hope you all have a good rest of your evening. Now let's go see what Dio's doing.